Hello. I feel like I've been on hiatus from YouTube for like a minute now, but now that it's fall, I feel like my spirit has like reawoken and I'm being called back here to talk about some fall books and fall reads. If you know literally anything about me, then you know this is my favorite season. This is my favorite time to read. These are my favorite kind of books. So today we're going to talk about my honestly a little bit unhinged in its length fall TBR. So just a disclaimer, I have not read any of these books yet. This is my TBR, so I'm not like necessarily recommending them to you, although a lot of them come highly recommended to me, so I have high hopes for pretty much all of them, but I cannot put my official stamp of approval, I guess is what I'm saying. Will I get through all of these this fall? Probably not. I'm sure a lot of these will probably bleed over into winter because I feel like winter is also an acceptable time to read a lot of these. I am going to try to break this up into genre, but I feel like a lot of them just fall into the genre of like fall. You know what I mean? But I guess there's like romance, fantasy, thrillers. You get it. We're gonna start with fantasy because that's what I have the most of, and I also feel like that's probably kind of what everyone is here to see. So I have 18 fantasy books total on my TBR. However, a lot of them are parts of series, so if I continue those series, then obviously more books will be added to my never-ending TBR, but... So going in no particular order, first I have Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. This is the first book in the whole overarching like Realm of the Elderlings series. I've been seeing this so much lately. I've heard Reagan from Peruse Project talk about the series forever, but I feel like on Book Talk especially, a lot of other people have been starting and finishing the series. I think it's like total 15 or 16 books and there's like 5 different trilogies in the series, but you start with this one. I just really want to see what Robin Hobb is about. I've heard that she is like the master at character development, and I feel like character driven fantasies really work for me because like if I don't care about the character, then I don't care about the book. Threadneedle by Cari is one that I picked up in Barnes & Noble last fall just on a whim. I had never seen anyone talk about this and I still haven't seen anyone talk about this. I don't really like know much of what this is about because the back is like kind of giving us nothing in terms of like plot synopsis, but it takes place in London. There's magic, secret library, etc. So I feel like this is going to be a really atmospheric read. I'm also really excited to read Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. This is, I believe, a trilogy. This is a YA fantasy. I remember hearing a lot about this first book when it came out. I literally know nothing about it. It says, they killed my mother, they took our magic, they tried to bury us, now we rise. This is another series that I've been seeing so much about, the Faithful and the Fallen series by John Gwynne. The first book obviously is Malice, and this is a huge book, and the rest of the books in this series are not getting any smaller either, but I've just heard incredible things. This is an adult high fantasy series, and there's only 4 books, which I feel like is a little bit more manageable than, you know, like 15 or 16. So maybe if I get really into this, I could finish the series by the end of the year. Like, let's be real though, probably not, but I'd like to read this first one at least. Then I have Vampires of El Norte by Isabel Cañas, which I just picked up at Barnes & Noble the other day. My cat just literally sneezed. That was so cute. From what I've heard, this is kind of almost more like a literary fiction book than fantasy, but it has vampires, just not in the traditional like fantasy sense that you would be thinking. It takes place in 1840s Mexico. We'll see. I've heard good things and I've heard not as good things, but I'm interested to try for myself. Then I have A Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness, which I'm honestly ashamed to say that I haven't read yet because I feel like this is such a me book, like loving fantasy, gothic vibes, dark academia, all of that. It's like, how am I not read this yet? And there's a TV show that I'm not gonna watch until I read the books because I do genuinely want to read the books and like not have them spoiled for me. Yeah, it takes place in Oxford's library. The main character is a descendant of witches. There's vampires, fantastical underworld. Like, what am I waiting for? Honestly. This is another one that I am feeling intense shame about, and that is Lady Macbeth by Ava Reid, because I got an ARC copy of this book, which I was so excited about, and it came out on August 6th of this year, and I still haven't read it. So like, what am I doing? I feel like I have talked about this so much, but this is one of my favorite covers probably to come out this year. I don't know what it is about like the hot pink on this like oil painting, but it's just so good. Anyway though, this book is obviously kind of a retelling of the story of Shakespeare's Macbeth, but centering Lady Macbeth as the main character. I definitely would need to refresh my memory on the plot of Macbeth, but I don't think that that should be like too difficult to do before I go into this. And I also still haven't read an Ava Reid book. I would put A Study in Drowning on here, but at the moment, this is the one that I am like more interested in, so I'm gonna start with this one. Then I have Vespertine by Margaret Rogerson. I've heard really good things about Margaret Rogerson's other books overall. She does like YA fantasy. Our main character of this book is a Grey sister who is a nun who cleanses the bodies of the deceased so that their souls can pass on. And at the beginning of the book, her convent is attacked by possessed soldiers. This just sounds really kind of unique, I feel like. Also like very atmospheric. I definitely feel like this would be a really good October read. And I love these, like, what are they, Charlie Bowater covers. I know some people are sick of them, but I just think they're so pretty. Then I have An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. I really want to read this whole series soon. I actually did read this first book a long time ago, like in middle school, I think. So I'm definitely gonna have to reread it because I literally remember nothing about it. But I've seen people having like such intense emotional reactions to especially the end of the series, and I just want something that I can be really invested in that would like make me cry at the end. I'm just craving that, and I really feel like the series is gonna deliver. Then we have Coraline by Neil Gaiman. Coraline is one of my favorite movies, and I have yet to read the source material, which is just like, that's a crime. That is punishable by law. Lock me up, for real. And it's so short. Like, there's absolutely no excuse for this. I will be reading this in October. You can count on that. Then I have The Square of Sevens by Laura Shepard Robinson. This is a historical fantasy book. It's set in, let's see, Cornwall in 1730, and apparently the Square of Sevens is like a method of magic that has been passed down through generations, and the main character of this book has to like protect that secret. I love historical fiction. I love historical fantasy. I'm expecting good things. Then we have probably one of my most anticipated books on this list, if not my actual most anticipated book, which is The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo. I love Leigh Bardugo, and I was so excited for this book when it came out, but I don't understand why it came out in April, because like this is like a deep fall book. I mean, even just looking at it, you can tell everything about this screams fall. I don't know why it was released in April, because I really wanted to be able to have like the full enjoyment of this book, so I knew I was gonna have to save it, which has been like extremely painful, but it's happening soon. This is another historical fantasy. It's set in Golden Age Madrid. That's all I know, and that's honestly all I really want to know. I trust Leigh Bardugo with my life. I don't need to know more. I'm just gonna let her take me on this adventure. Then I have Good Omens by Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman. I feel like this is such a classic. I know it's supposed to be really funny. A little snippet, it says the armies of good and evil are amassing and everything appears to be going to divine plan. So that's all I know, but I'll be picking this one up, trust. A Marvellous Light by Freya Marske really got me with this blurb on the front from New York Times. It says a lush historical fantasy, delightful. There's also mentions of a hidden magical society on the back, and there's also several more books in this series now that have been released, I think, since I bought this one, so like I need to get to it. Then I have Be Sure by Seanan McGuire. This is actually a bind up of the first 3 books of the Wayward Children series. I remember hearing so much about the Wayward Children series on like OG BookTube, and the actual books themselves are pretty tiny, hence why this just looks like a pretty regular sized fantasy book. But again, I've heard great things and I have high expectations because I really love Middle Game by Seanan McGuire as well, so that is a recommendation I can give for fall for sure. Then I have For the Wolf by Hannah Whitten, which to be honest, I haven't heard like incredible things about Hannah Whitten in general. However, I have seen this book compared a lot to One Dark Window, which was one of my absolute favorite reads just last year, but for fall in particular. And I'm kind of craving anything that will give me that same like dark fairy tale in the woods vibe, which obviously title and cover are kind of giving that like Little Red Riding Hood thing. Actually, is this a Little Red Riding Hood? Yeah. Oh yeah, no, this is definitely a Little Red Riding Hood retelling. Sometimes a good retelling is all you need. Then I of course have The Hero of Ages by Brandon Sanderson. This is the 3rd book in the like first Mistborn trilogy. I am a massive Mistborn fan. However, at the time that I started this 3rd one, I was kind of needing a little bit of a brain break because I had just finished the first 2, which I gave both of those like 6 stars. Like seriously, they're some of my absolute favorite reads. So I definitely can recommend this series. I just haven't finished this last book yet, but rest assured, like this will be happening before the end of the year. Okay, I can promise you that much. And then lastly, I included this one in the fantasy section, but this is actually shelved as horror. So if you're looking for it in the bookstore, that's where it is. And this is Slewfoot by Brom, which is a very interesting size, and it's a paperback, but I believe it's the size because it has a lot of illustrations in here, which are actually very frightening. I can see why this is a horror novel. Yeah, I'm hoping, okay, I'm like getting a little bit like freaked out looking at them. I don't know, it says A Tale of Bewitchery on it. We'll see. I'll report back probably in October or November. Okay, so that is my entire fantasy TBR for fall. Like I said, that is the biggest chunk of my fall TBR because obviously fall is just the time that you read fantasy. However, I do love a good fall romance. So I have a few of those as well. So first I have A Werewolf's Guide to Seducing a Vampire by Sarah Hawley. I just finished the first book in this series, which is A Witch's Guide to Fake Dating a Demon. This is actually the third one because I somehow don't have the second one, but the second one will also be in my TBR because I've heard that you do kind of need to read them in order. So the second one is A Demon's Guide to Wooing a Witch, and this is the third one. I feel like that was, like, I explained that more than necessary. These are just really cute witchy romances. I actually really enjoyed the writing in the first one kind of more than I thought I was going to. Yeah, I feel like these are gonna be good ones as well. Then last fall I started the Witches of Thistle Grove series by Lana Harper with Payback's a Witch. This is another fun, cutesy, witchy romance, which I can recommend because I did finish this one. However, I have 3 more of her books in this series that I have not gotten to yet. So I have From Bad to Curse, In Charm's Way, and Back in a Spell. I don't know if I'm gonna get to all of them this fall, but I feel like just when I kind of need a little bit of like a fast pace, like brain break, then I will pick one of these up. Then I have Rewitched by Lucy Jane Wood. I've been following this author on Instagram and TikTok for a while. I believe that this is her debut novel. It says it's spellbinding, warm, and cozy, which is just like everything that I feel like I need. The cover is so cute. I'm really excited for this one. Then I have Spells for Lost Things by Jenna Evans Welch. This is YA, and this is from the same author who wrote the Love and Gelato series, which I never read because I didn't have a ton of interest in that series, but this one is set in Salem, Massachusetts, and obviously, like, it's set in Salem. So need I say more? It just looks like a really, really cute fall read. So those are all of my romance books on my fall TBR. Now we're gonna move to mystery thriller. I don't have a ton of mystery thriller books that I own physical copies of because I tend to read them on Kindle Unlimited. I feel like there are tons of mystery thriller books on Kindle Unlimited, and a lot of times when I'm reading a mystery thriller, it's just not something I like feel the need to own a copy of. However, these are ones that I own copies of because I've read from these 2 authors before and I absolutely love their books. So first I have Dark Places by Gillian Flynn. I've read Gone Girl and Sharp Objects, loved both of them. Gillian Flynn is just, there's something that she does with her writing that is like so eerie and dark and just kind of makes you feel like weird on the inside. So when I'm feeling like I want something like darker and grittier, then I'll be picking this one up for sure. Then I want to continue the Thursday Murder Club series by Richard Osman. I've read the first 2 books, which are the Thursday Murder Club and The Man Who Died Twice. So I want to read the 3rd and the 4th books, which are The Bullet That Missed and The Last Devil to Die. Both of those first 2 books were either a 4.5 or a 5 stars for me. This series, if you don't know, is basically about this group of retirees that are living in the English countryside, and they have a club where they meet on Thursdays to solve cold cases and murders until the cases are kind of brought to them because the murders start happening in their surrounding area. And they're so funny. The characters are so endearing. The writing is so clever. I just love them so much. They're honestly really wholesome, feel good reads, but also still have that aspect of like mystery thriller. Mainly mystery, really, honestly, they're not thrillers, but I feel like the mystery aspect is still something that would be good for fall, and they're just so fun. I love these books so much. And then I have Richard Osman's new release, which is We Solve Murders, which I'm assuming is going to be kind of in the same vein as the Thursday Murder Club. It says solving murders, it's a family business on the inside, so I'm hoping for more of the same kind of like wholesome vibe, clever writing, all of that. So those are all my mystery thriller books on my fall TBR. Now we're gonna move on to, I guess, what I'm calling like literary fiction slash some classics. So speaking of classics, first I have Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. I cannot believe that I haven't read this book because I love everything gothic, and Charlotte Bronte is like the mother of all things gothic, so someone shame me into reading this, please. Then I have The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson, which is an obvious choice for October. It's like the OG ghost story. That's actually probably not true. When did this come out? Yeah, definitely not the OG ghost story, but like, you get what I'm saying. Then I have Jamaica Inn by Daphne du Maurier, more gothic vibes. I actually haven't read Rebecca yet, but my mom is a big Daphne du Maurier fan, and she suggested that I read this one first because it is her favorite. Then I have Sleepwalking by Meg Wolitzer, which I've been wanting to read for a really long time. It sounds right up my alley. I think this is like a dark academia vibe, cult vibe also. Like, I've heard for fans of Bunny by Mona Awad, which I love that book, that you will also really like this one. So basically the main premise of this one, I'll just read this little sentence. So it says, Sleepwalking tells the story of the 3 notorious death girls, so-called on the Swarthmore campus because they dress in black and are each absorbed in the work and suicide of a different poet, Sylvia Plath, Anne Sexton, and Wolitzer's creation, Lucy Asher. Sounds really good. Then I have Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro. So many people have told me that I'm gonna love this. I think this is another dark academia, obviously set on a campus, and it's won the Nobel Prize. It's not very long. I need to read this one soon. I think I'll probably be reading this one like pretty soon. And then lastly in this category I have Intermezzo, which is Sally Rooney's new book. This one is about 2 brothers, and that's pretty much all I know, other than one of them is a chess player, hence this like whole chess vibe going on. And I love this cover and the end papers, so pretty. And then my last category, which literally only has 1 book in it right now, is nonfiction, and that book is Stiff by Mary Roach. When I posted my like nonfic book recommendations for people who hate nonfiction, I asked for recommendations and I got an overwhelming number of comments just about Mary Roach in general, but also specifically about this book, which is about like the history of human cadavers and what happens to them after they have been like donated to labs, I believe. Might be kind of morbid, but I find really interesting. So I'm excited to begin my foray into Mary Roach's books. So that is everything that I have on my fall TBR. I'm not sure exactly how many books this was, but I will count and put the number up here. Hopefully I can get through at least most of these, but we'll see. I'm sure some of them will be in upcoming reading vlogs, so be looking out for that. And you'll also probably be seeing a lot of them in my wrap-ups as well. And that is all I have for you today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'm gonna have my other socials as well as the Patreon linked down below if you guys would like to join and be part of my book club. I would love to have you, and I'll see you next time.